We're joined by Dr. Joseph Mesa from our friends at Delaware Orthopedic Specialists. Doc, some terrible news comes out of Philadelphia last night as both Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper are added to the IL, both believed to be relatively short-term. Schwarber with a groin strain, Harper with a hamstring strain. What can you tell us about those?
Well, yeah, I mean, these are both soft tissue injuries, and it seems like the Phillies this year have been bitten by the soft tissue strain bug. Joins the ranks of Turner and Marsh. I think the good news is the amount of time they got off. I think the other good news is a groin strain in Schwarber. I mean, he's the DH. I think that's something that he can recover from relatively easily as long as they don't require him to play the field. I think that will be a faster recovery for him. And as far as Bryce goes, I think the thing that made me relieved was last night when he was talking after the game. He said he felt it distally in his thigh. And that's usually a good sign. I mean, the ones you really worry about are the ones that are high up in the hip because that's where the tendon originates. And those are the ones that can potentially be devastating and even lead to surgery. So having his pain in the bottom of his thigh or mid thigh indicates that it's purely muscular. And, the degree is hard to tell. Like we said earlier with Marsh, sometimes they look bad and they aren't as bad as we think. And I think, Bryce kept alluding to the fact that he had never had this type of injury before. So I'm sure he said he had nothing to relate it to. And I think a lot of times initially it's pretty scary. And then I think once it gets assessed, they can kind of evaluate it. And I think it's a really good sign that they only put him on the 10-day list. So that means that they're at least hopeful that both of them can get back to some form of play in a relatively short time.
Yeah, so like you kind of touched on it there when he said that he'd never felt like anything like this in his career with a guy that's obviously been playing his entire life. Everybody gets a little apprehensive, gets a little scared hearing that. Is it really reasonable to believe with a hamstring strain, even if it is a pretty low grade, that he could be back in 2 to 3 weeks, or is it going to be more to that 4 to 6 week time frame?
You can always be hopeful. I mean, I think that you look in that. I always then say they're going to be nagging for a period of time. So I think if you go back 2 weeks, I mean, he's tough. I mean, I'm basing this on his elbow recovery, but typically at 2 weeks, they're still having some lingering effects. So it just kind of boils down to how quickly they want him to get back. And my treatment is typically I want them to be almost 100% when they go back because I don't want them to go back for a game and then flare it up and then they're just back on the IL. So I think they're going to take their time in terms of they want to make him as close to 100% as they can. And if that means more time off, so be it. But I think the key is you don't want to have to go through 2 periods of a layoff because of a flare up in completely rehab. But that being said, I mean, I think that it is optimistic. I mean, if it was something pretty devastating, I think they would have said, it's going to be a more extended time. So from the reports I've seen, it seems like they're fairly optimistic. And I think that they're pretty realistic in understanding that they don't want to rush either one. So fingers crossed, it won't be too far gone.
Well, Doc, we really appreciate your time and your insight and all this. So thank you.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Have a good one.
At Delaware Orthopedic Specialists, you're never left in the dark. Not only are they the only fellowship-trained surgery center here in the state of Delaware, all of their providers are also specialists, which means that they're focusing on each and every part of the body specifically, so that when you come in with knee pain, you're getting a doctor specifically devoted to that. Wrist pain, wrist doctor, foot pain, foot doctor, so on and so forth. Why would you go anywhere where you're just going to get a general doctor that knows overall body when you can get somebody that knows the ins and outs of your exact injury? They're going to hold your hand and walk you through each and every step of the process so that you won't have any questions and you'll know exactly what you should be expecting. My family and friends trust DOS, and you should too. Give them a call at 302-655-9494 or head on over to delortho.com. Let them know that Talking 2 and 5 sent you. And after they give you phenomenal care, head on over to Google, give them a great review.